Greetings, my brothers and my sisters. I'm Pastor Hodges of the Greater St. Mary's Church, St. Augustine, Florida, and the Union St. James Missionary Baptist Association, where our esteemed moderator is Pastor Jeremiah Robinson, Jr. These are perilous times, to say the least. Let's be honest. This coronavirus has thrown us an unexpected curveball that has upset everything that we attributed to normal just a few weeks ago. Never would I have imagined that in these United States of America, where we took for granted the freedom to move about as we pleased and worship as we are led, never would I have imagined that we would all but be confined to our homes and so many church doors would be closed. The psalmist declared in Psalms 122:1, I was glad when they said unto me, let us go into the house of the Lord. And in the past times of trouble, that's exactly what we did. We found strength and contentment in the house of the Lord, in the presence of God and the saints. We're grateful to God for the vehicle and the ability to stream our services through various media outlets. But I want to tell you, there was a reason that Jesus, as was his custom, went to the temple to pray and worship. Because he understood that nothing can replace the intimacy and fellowship of corporate worship. And yet here we are. The Lord spoke to us through the prophet Jeremiah. I know the thoughts I think toward you, thoughts of peace and not evil, to give you an expected end. God has already laid out an expected end for our lives. However, live long enough and you will learn, as I have, that one thing which is synonymous with the pursuit of the expected is the preemptive imposition of the unexpected. Just as sure as there is power in expectancy, there is with it the burden of the unexpected. James seemed to draw attention to this thought in the 4th chapter of his letter, verses 13 through 15. You who say today or tomorrow, we go to such and such a city, spend a year there, buy and sell, make a profit. But you do not know what will happen tomorrow. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this or that. After all, it's his end he has laid out for us and not our own. And it's God's prerogative to direct our lives in the manner and mode that he sees fit. 3 things I want to suggest to help you through this unexpected and unappreciated season. The first thing is the safest place to be in the time of crisis is in the will of God. I've heard some theologians suggest that we should not pray if it be thy will, seemingly suggesting that God is duty bound to honor our will above his own. Not so. We can live our own will and make our own decisions. But when our will conflicts with God's will, thy will, God that is, thy will be done. James says we ought to say, if the Lord will, we shall live and do this and that. And though it's not written, it is implied, do the other. The will of God comes from the heart of God. And the heart of God always bends toward doing what is good for us. And even in this brutal season of adversity, God is still working things out for our good. All things, the Bible says, work together for the good of those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. You can always trust God to work out what he has you working in. Take courage, my brothers and my sisters. We may not know what the future holds, but we know who holds the future. And in the will of God, there's the power, provisions, and protection we desperately need to make it through this valley of the shadow of death. Secondly, what you go through pales in comparison to where you're going to. And what you have does not compare to what you're going to get. I think about the woman blessed to carry a child, but having to endure the burdens of carrying that child. What she gains in the end far outweighs what she goes through to get to the end. When she hears the cry of a healthy baby, feel the gentle touch of their hands, she feels better about the birthing process. John talks about it in John 16 and 21. when he says, a woman, when she is in travail, hath sorrow, because her hour is come. But as soon as she is delivered of the child, she no longer remembers the pain, because she is so glad that a child has been born into the world. So look through the tears of the unexpected and rejoice at God's promise of good. Look through the trees of disappointments, heartaches, and pain, and see the pinnacle of God's promises to you, including but not limited to, I will never leave you nor forsake you. Encourage yourself in the Lord and tell the unexpected, what God has for me, it is for me, and nothing can take that away. The last nugget I want to drop your way is, if you have to, bounce, but don't bail. I don't fly often. I'm more of a driver. But for those of you who fly often, you know that every now and then the plane will encounter turbulence. 3 things generally lead to turbulence: strong winds, storm clouds, and clear air, each of which can cause the plane to lose altitude suddenly and unexpectedly. Now, if it were possible, some might be scarcely tempted to open the door of the plane and bail, hoping to escape the turbulence and the false idea that the plane is about to crash. But I hear the voice of the pilot coming over the speaker and telling the passengers, ladies and gentlemen, we are encountering turbulence. Hold on, fasten your seatbelts, and I will take us up a few thousand feet above the storm. My brothers and my sisters, hear the voice of the Lord as he says, my children, you are encountering turbulence, but hold on, fasten your seatbelts, and I will raise you up above the storm. It may be a little bumpy now, but if you want to get to the other side of the storm, bounce with the bump, but don't bail. God bless you. Stay safe.